right, joining us, Marc Sumerlin, Evenflow Macro Managing Partner, Doug Holtz-Eakin, President of American Action Forum and former Congressional Budget Office Director, two distinguished economists, and a very distinguished economist, Steve Miran, Dr. Miran, Professor Miran. A bit of an academic paper, Marc Sumerlin, but it was pretty good. Basically, he's saying, first of all, if the Fed is too restrictive, it's going to damage the labor market. That's the generic point. And he wants to drop the Fed's target rate into the 2% zone, if I have all that right. And I did plow through the paper, Marc. So what do you make of this?
No, thank you very much, Larry, for having me on. First of all, I congratulate him for giving a very meaty speech for his first one, and he met the Fed on their own turf. His subject matter isn't what I think is the best way to make monetary policy, but I applaud him for taking a crack at it. I would say within his speech, the best thing by far was the focus on rents. Right now, rental prices are actually falling, where the official statistics are actually still increasing at a fairly high rate. And so I think that that's something that people should take into account. I think there are other calculations that suggest he might be too low, and one of the ways we can check that is the TIPS market, the inflation-protected treasuries market, will give us the market's long-term estimate of what the real neutral rate is, and that's about 2 percentage points higher than Miran's own estimate, and so he is on the low side of where the market is. I'll put it that way.
Well, it's interesting, Doug. Now, you guys correct me, because I plowed through this. He looked at the TIPS, he looked at the Treasury market and the Treasury inflation adjusted. He looked at the five-year forwards. It's about 2.3%. And he thought that that was the best market-based idea of what's neutral. Neutral meaning it's not too tight and it's not too loose. It's sort of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, okay. And he's saying, we're at 4.25. We need to get down at least to about 2.5. I think that's what he's saying, Doug. And I don't think he's going to get a lot of support at the Fed. But the question is, might he be right? And let me just add one more thing. He relies on a lot of supply-side logic in here, like the tax incentives, business investment expansion, deregulation, your specialty. I mean, how far away is he?
Well, we don't know. First of all, I want to agree with Marc that it was a very serious speech. And he laid out in very, very precise terms exactly how he thought about the policymaking process and arrived at an estimate of the neutral rate that was about 2 percentage points lower than most people. But I think the thing to point out is that, number one, even if you take it at face value, he's really arguing that's where we should be in 2027. And so there's no reason for a break-the-glass rate cut now. You can get to his neutral rate over time, and you can check as you go whether you really are too restrictive at this level. The second thing is the speech is silent on the other mandate. It's all about the employment mandate. That's great, but there is this inflation thing, and it's been rising the past 4 months, core and top line. And if you balance the inflation and the unemployment, you might not move so quickly or so dramatically.
He's kind of saying, Marc Sumerlin, we had him here on set, and he's a very smart. He's saying you've got supply-side policies. You're going to produce more goods with lower taxes, business incentives, and deregulation and energy. And that's going to take care of the inflation problem. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that part of it. AI is a productivity shock. That part will put downward pressure on inflation. Part of it, though, is he is assuming a big increase in savings that's a little more speculative. And I just want to clarify the comparison on the TIPS rate. That's a real rate, not a nominal rate. And so the 2% is comparable. His own real rate is 0. Right. And so he's actually quite low. He might be right. I look at the bond market right now and say the Fed is 50 basis points too high. I would do that right away. get better in line. I don't look at it and say that they're 250 basis points too high, but he laid out his case, and there are a lot of assumptions that go into those type of calculations.
You know, Doug, if you need 50, maybe your bargaining chip is 250. I mean, I think he's very lonely.
Oh, we're playing poker now.
Yes, I think he's very lonely around that table. Maybe he'll get some support from Chris Waller and Mickey Bowman, or maybe not. But part of this, I do believe, is a bargaining process. I mean, here, last one. Doug, how tight is money? I mean, should we be worried about a big jump in the unemployment rate? I know I hear your concern about inflation. Fair enough.
Sure.
But how risky is a big jump in unemployment at this stage?
So I would say that there's good reason, and you can make the case for cuts. You really can. The labor market is at a standstill. No one's getting hired. But we haven't yet seen other evidence of cracking. We haven't seen a sharp rise in new claims for unemployment insurance. We haven't seen the JOLTS data, the sort of layoffs and hires sort of freeze up in the same dramatic way. So it doesn't look like we're near free fall, and so it doesn't look like break the glass time. It looks like time for concern, and I think he's exhibiting a lot of concern, but the Fed's exhibiting concern. You do hear them say that. We heard it from Bowman, we heard it from Waller, and so they'll keep their eye on that. I just want to echo one thing that Marc said, just because I can't help it. I'm a former CBO director. You can lose a lot of money betting on Congress not spending the tariff money over the next 10 years. So I wouldn't count on that as a way to move the real rate.
That's an interesting. You can lose a lot of money not betting against Congress on any spending. I get that. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Very distinguished. Marc Sumerlin, Douglas Holtz-Eakin, we appreciate it.